I want you to think about something the next time you're sitting in a window seat, waiting for pushback. Look out at that wing. It's flexing slightly even before you move. It's long, it's thin, and if you knew what was inside it, you might ask the question that most passengers never think to ask. That wing is full of fuel, not a little fuel. On a Boeing 747, we're talking up to 238,000 liters. On an A380, even more, over 320,000 liters of jet fuel sitting inside those wings. Not in the cargo hold, not in some reinforced tank bolted to the center of the aircraft. In the wings, those same wings you just watched bend. I'm Captain Sam. I spent over 3 decades flying commercial aircraft. And I can tell you, the decision to put fuel in the wings is not a storage convenience. It is one of the most sophisticated pieces of engineering thinking in the entire history of aviation. And by the time I'm done explaining it, you are gonna look at every airplane wing differently for the rest of your life. Let me break this down the way I'd explain it to a new first officer sitting next to me for the first time. Starting with point 1, the wing is the coldest place on the aircraft. Most people don't know that jet fuel has a serious problem with heat. At elevated temperatures, jet fuel begins to evaporate. It produces vapor. And here's what you need to understand. It is not the liquid fuel that ignites easily. It is the vapor. Fuel vapor in a confined space is dramatically more dangerous than the liquid itself. So where you store that fuel matters enormously. Now think about the alternatives. Fuel stored in the belly of the aircraft sits in close proximity to engines, hydraulic lines, electrical systems, and the heat generated by a full cabin of passengers on a 10-hour flight. That heat accumulates. That's not where you want hundreds of thousands of liters of flammable liquid sitting. The wings are completely different. At cruising altitude, the outside air temperature is somewhere between -50 and -60 degrees Celsius. The metal structure of the wing is directly exposed to that cold. It acts as a natural heat sink, pulling heat away from the fuel and keeping it at a consistently low temperature throughout the flight. The wings are the coldest, most naturally temperature-stable spaces on the entire aircraft. That alone is a compelling reason. But it's not even the main one. Moving towards point 2, every flight is trying to tear the wings off. This is the part that surprises people most, and I want you to really sit with it. When an aircraft is in flight, the wings lift the upward force that keeps the airplane airborne. That lift pushes upward along the full length of the wing, from tip inward toward the fuselage. At the same time, the weight of the fuselage, the body of the plane, the passengers, the cargo, the engines pulls downward at the center. These two forces working against each other create what engineers call a bending moment. The wingtips want to go up. The fuselage pulls the middle down. The point where those forces collide, the wing root, where the wing meets the body of the aircraft, takes enormous stress on every single flight. On a fully loaded commercial jet in cruise, the wingtips can flex upward by several meters. You can see it from your seat. Those wings are working hard. Now here is what the fuel does. When fuel is loaded into the wings, its weight acts downward along the full span of the wing, directly opposing that upward lift force. It counteracts the bending moment at the wing root. The fuel is not just a passenger sitting inside that structure. It is an active structural counterweight, reducing stress on one of the most critical components of the entire airplane. Every liter of fuel in those wings is doing 2 jobs at the same time, feeding the engines and protecting the structure that keeps the plane in the air. Point 3, where you put the weight changes, how the airplane flies. Think about holding a long rod. If you hold it at the center, it's manageable. If you hold it at one end, the weight at the far end creates leverage that fights you the entire time. Aircraft engineers deal with that same challenge on a massive scale. Where weight is positioned relative to the airplane's center of lift determines how much energy is needed to keep the aircraft stable and level throughout a flight. Fuel stored out in the wings distributes that weight along the full span of the aircraft, spread far from the center line. This creates a natural stabilizing effect. It reduces the airplane's tendency to pitch up or nose down. It makes the aircraft inherently more stable without requiring constant input from the control surfaces. In practical terms, that means less drag, less fuel burned to maintain level flight, a smoother ride, and a more predictable airplane to fly. But here's the part most people don't consider. The fuel system on a modern commercial aircraft isn't just pumping fuel to the engines. It is actively managing the balance of the entire airplane in real time. As fuel burns, the system draws from specific tanks in a specific sequence, continuously adjusting weight distribution to keep the aircraft in its optimal flying condition from takeoff all the way to landing. Point for a full wing is safer than an empty one. This one is counterintuitive, and I want you to think about it carefully. A plane with full wing tanks is structurally safer than one with nearly empty wings. Remember the bending moment, that enormous upward force trying to bend the wing at the root. A full wing pushes back against that force. The fuel weight counteracts the lift and reduces the structural load. As the fuel burns and the wings get lighter, that counteracting force weakens. The bending stress at the wing root increases. The wings flex more. The loads build up. This is precisely why the fuel burn sequence is engineered so carefully. The outer wing tanks, the ones farthest from the fuselage, burn first. The inner tanks, closest to the wing root, burn last. Engineers designed it that way deliberately to preserve the counterbalancing effect where the structure needs it most, for as long as possible during the flight. Every drop of fuel burned follows a sequence that was built not just to feed the engines, but to protect the airplane's structure from the moment the wheels leave the ground to the moment they touch back down. Point 5, one solution, 4 problems solved. Here is what I want you to take away from all of this. The next time you look out a window at that wing stretching alongside you, flexing in the turbulence, know that what you are looking at represents decades of engineering refinement. The wing fuel system solves the structural stress problem. It solves the weight distribution problem. It solves the temperature and safety problem. And it manages the balance of the aircraft continuously throughout the entire flight. Most passengers assume fuel is stored in the wings simply because there's space out there, but that assumption misses everything that actually matters. Engineers didn't put the fuel there because there was room. They put it there because that position makes the airplane stronger, safer, more stable, and more efficient, all at the same time. One elegant solution. 4 separate engineering problems solved simultaneously. That is not a shortcut or a convenience. That is the kind of thinking that turns 500 tons of metal into something that lifts off a runway every single day and makes crossing an ocean feel routine. I'm Captain Sam, 31 years in the cockpit, and I still find this stuff remarkable. Stay curious. I'll see you on the next one.